Okay, boys. So what I'm going to do here is just give you a bit of an example of editing, and I've picked a piece of writing that that is deliberately a little bit bad, just to give you a bit of an idea here. Okay, what do we think the first step here is with our piece of writing? Spell check. So let's go to tools. Let's go to spelling and grammar. Oh, hang on. Tools, spelling and grammar check. And I want to change excerpt to accept. Yep, I want to change shouldn't to shouldn't, doesn't to doesn't, and gave. Okay, that's pretty good. That was easy, boys. That was easy. The spell check is easy. Make sure you've done that. Now, the next step is a little bit more complex. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and subject this to a little bit more analysis by looking at my sentences, the sentence length, how I start my sentences, making sure they make sense. So what I do is I just go through. I'm going to do the reverse of this when I'm finished, but I go through every time I find a full stop, I'll just separate that. Okay, I'm just going to press enter a couple of times. That way I get to see how long my sentences are. There's...
Why is there a full stop after N? And why is it capital letter?
There is a capital letter there, but
why?
No full stop. Maybe there's supposed to be one there. Okay, now I can see there are some issues. Also, I can see that the spell check is not infallible. I'm pretty sure that bully is supposed to have a Y at the end. Okay, now there's a couple of things here that we want to do. First off, we want to see that our sentences are of a decent length. And what it looks like here is there's a whole lot of short sentences, almost what we call bullet point sentences. And short sentences are okay if that's what the author is going for and they're doing that deliberately to build tension or make it sound like a lot of things are happening very quickly. Just looking at this, I don't think that's the case. I think that it's just, we've got a whole lot of simple sentences that probably could be reworked a bit. Now, I haven't just got simple sentences here. I've got something else. If I look down the bottom here, I've got what we call a run-on sentence. I think it's a run-on sentence. I'm just going to check how many words in the sentence by looking at the tools and word count. There are 84 words in that sentence. How many words how long should a sentence actually be?
15.
Yeah, maybe, between 15 and 25, not 84.
Yeah,
okay, 84 is bad. 84 is what we call a run-on sentence because it sounds like a whole lot of simple sentences have been put together and need to be broken up a bit. If I was to read that out loud, I would probably run out of breath, less than halfway through. And so I can see that there's a couple of things we need to do. We need to fix up these short sentences, make them a bit longer, maybe a little bit more involved. We need to break up the long run-on sentence. Now, the other thing that I like to get people to do is to just highlight the first couple of words of each sentence. And I'm just doing that, boys, because one of the things that we also try to avoid is writing a whole heap of simple sentences that begin with the subject of the sentence. Okay, and if I look here, there was, I shouldn't. Quite a few of those sentences are simple sentences. And if we break up this large 84-word run-on sentence, I suspect that there might be a couple more simple sentences there. So the next step then for me, and this is where things get a little bit more complex, is trying to figure out what we can do with these sentences to maybe change things around a little bit, make it sound a little bit more interesting, and maybe combine a couple of ideas so we're not looking at a whole lot of short, simple sentences. So if I look at the first one, I walked through the door into class and sat down. I looked to my left and right. I think I could combine those two sentences, and instead of starting with I and I, we could use one of these, these more fancier sentence types, maybe starting with an ing word, which is, another way of saying using an active verb. So we've got a couple of verbs there. We've got walked and looked. You can choose one. Which one should we start with? Looked. Okay, instead of using looked, I'll put looking, because that's looking to the walked. Okay, this is still a fairly short sentence, but, we've combined the first two in there and we've made it a little bit more interesting by, by starting with the active verb. So that's a bit of an example of what we do with these short sentences. With the longer sentence, let's have a bit of a look at that, shall we? Why is it that in the movies or on TV the teacher comes late to class and the class is all pretty much sitting down and stuff? Because in real life, if the teacher doesn't show up, then bad shit is going to happen, like today. When Steve grabbed my bag, took my sandwich, chucked it to Sam, who started unwrapping it, and he threw it to Mike, who opened the sandwich, spat in it, and then gave it back to me. Okay, we've got maybe 3 sentences in there that we need to break up. And we probably want to get rid of 1 or 2 bits and pieces there. We want to make bad shit sound a little bit better than that, because this is a piece of creative writing. Even though it's what we'd call stream of consciousness, we probably want to tidy that up. And also, guys, I've noticed that our spelling and grammar check has not made our names into capital or capitalize them, even though they are proper nouns. So I'm just doing that. Now, I think that there's a natural break after the word happen. Okay, and I'm going to break that up. And what else could we put instead of bad shit? Let's try and avoid the word shit. What could we use in there instead? That's probably a worse option. Probably a worse option. What do you think, Hikurangi? with. So we'll keep bad.
There's something
Okay, that we could probably think even more about that, but that just sounds slightly better. Now, because it starts with the word why, it's a question. So we're going to finish this with a question mark. I should have figured that out. And if we start the next sentence with like today when Steve grabbed my bag, took my sandwich and chucked it to Sam, we're going to get rid of one of those. It to Sam. He started unwrapping it and he threw it to Mike, who opened the sandwich and spat in it, then gave it to me back. That doesn't make sense. With starting with the word like is not great. We made a bit of a success with this, starting with the word looking. Why don't we start with the word grabbing? Okay, I'll just rewrite this way. You don't have to rewrite this. You can, obviously, you can just change what you've got there, but I'm going to rewrite it here. Grabbing my bag. Steve cooked my sandwich. What about a different word instead? The other thing is, we've got some fairly average verbs here, like took. What's another word that means the same as took, but has that whole, like, someone
Stole.
Stole is good. Yeah. Stole, grabbed, snatched. Stole my... What sort of sandwich do you think it is? Yeah.
Yeah. It's got chicken sandwich.
What? Snadwich.
Yeah.
Sandwich. Can we think of a better word than chucked? Through. We started unwrapping them. Oh, tossed is good as well. I'll change that. Tossed it to Sam. We've got an and. So let's put a full stop there. Okay. So I've just changed that sentence there, like today when Sam grabbed my bag, took my sandwich, chucked it to Sam, started unwrapping it, threw it to Mike, who opened the sandwich, spat in it and gave it to me back. We've changed that into a couple of sentences. Grabbing my bag, Steve stole my chicken sandwich, tossed it to Sam, who started unwrapping it. Catching the sandwich, Mike spat in it and presented it back to me. Okay, it's a bit more effective. It's broken up the 84 words, and it's also, we're changing the simple sentences into a slightly more complex form using active verbs. Okay.